everybody. I'll start where I start every presentation, that is to truly thank you for allowing me to serve with your share. I still love this job to death. I've been doing it almost 4 years now. Can't believe I get to do it. I'm honored to do it. I am surrounded by 1,500 incredible members of our agency that are knocking it out of the park to keep you safe out there. So you see one of our deputies, one of our correction team members, the person that does our payroll, the person that makes our computers work, whoever it is, let them know how much you appreciate what they're doing, because they are truly, truly doing a great job for you. Pedro, I'm gonna ask you real quick. When you were up here saying the blessing, I thought I heard Gordo. I wasn't sure, so all right. I thought Gordo. Kind of got me a little bit. So again, I truly thank you for allowing me to serve. And let me talk real quick about how good a job our team's doing and how good a job I think we're doing as a community. When I first came in, we talked greatly about we were going to partner with our citizens to lower the crime rate. And that's what we put major emphasis on doing, getting you vital crime prevention information before you become a victim instead of after. I think our team has done a great job at partnering with our community. Our community's done a great job at partnering with us. And as a result, in the past 3 years, we've lowered our crime rate by 14.1%. Which is pretty profound. Pretty good job. I will tell you that we actually dropped it down as far as 17%, but it snuck back up on us a little bit this past year because of one crime. And that's really odd to say that we can isolate it to one crime, but our system that we have lets us know what crimes are peaking and everything else. And that one crime, believe it or not, is burglaries to unlock cars. That is the thing that continues to be a problem for us. And I've looked at it, I've strategized, I've analyzed as much as I can about why do we keep getting hit. Now, the good news is, if there is good news in that, is that it is a national and a state trend. Everybody's getting hit with groups. They're mostly juveniles that are coming out of South Florida or Orlando, coming over, targeting neighborhoods. They literally will hit 30 and 40 cars a night. And stealing stuff. So what we've done is encourage everybody to lock your car doors. When we see the type of stuff they're stealing, they're getting electronics, they're getting prescriptions, checkbooks, firearms, they're taking the garage door opener, and if they can, they go into the garage right then. If not, they're coming back when you're not there and they're going into the garage. And literally, we watch them on security film. When we have a burglary, we'll pull all the security footage from around the different homes, and you'll see them. They'll go to this house, they'll try the door, the car is locked. They walk right across the street to the next driveway. There's the unlocked one. That's where they're doing their damage at. So we put a lot of emphasis on please lock your car. It takes an extra 2 seconds to lock your car. But people aren't doing it. And so I had to figure out why. I think the reason is we're a victim of our own success. We all love the fact that we live in such a safe community that we brag. I don't even have to lock my car. I don't have to lock my house when I leave. And we want to cling to that. And I want to cling to that too. What we have to do though is go back a little bit and remember how we got here. And that was by doing the little precautions, the little preventive measures. So we've done all sorts of stuff. Jingles. I've done jingles on Facebook, getting people to lock their cars. We've stolen Saturday Night Live skits to get people to lock their cars. None of it's working. So starting this weekend, we've got a new plan. We are going to go from neighborhood to neighborhood, and we are going to try your car doors. If they're unlocked, we're going to leave a dog or a cat from our shelter. When you come out and you find you got 10 new cats, you're going to lock your car the next night. Obviously, we're not going to leave dogs and cats in people's cars, but please lock your car door. That's the one thing that's hurting us right now is that crime wave. So please make sure you're doing it. I'm going to shift gears and I'm going to talk about what's going on in the country, around the nation, actually around the globe, with acts of terrorism and active shooters. And you know, I've been a law enforcement officer for 37 years. I have never seen a time like we face right now. I've never seen a time where our citizens and our law enforcement officers are under attack from every angle that's out there. It's just, I've never seen it, you know. And we look at terrorism and everything it's doing. We look at an active shooter from 2 other different categories as well. One from mental health, which I'll talk about here in a minute, what I think we have to do in the mental health field. 2, we look at somebody that's just upset, you know, maybe they're going through a divorce, they're having spousal issues, whatever it is. All of those are active shooter scenarios. And whether it's driven by motivation of terrorism, by a spouse, a domestic incident, or by a mental health issue, they all bring to the table the same thing: danger, and that is danger for our citizens. And so we started back in December. I don't know if you saw it. I put out a video called Enough is Enough. It was right after San Bernardino. And it basically told our citizens, now is the time for you to understand that you're the first line of defense. You need to arm yourselves. You need to make sure that you are prepared to protect you, your family, those around you, your co-workers, everybody else in those scenarios. And we used to live in a time where we didn't have to worry about being the victim of violent crime. In fact, we used to live in a time where if we didn't hang with the wrong people, we didn't engage in criminal activity, we pretty much felt assured we weren't going to be the victim of violent crime. Well, that's not true today. Not anymore. And it's a sad commentary on our society, but it's a real commentary. Today, if you go to the premiere of Batman at the movie theater in Aurora, Colorado, you have to worry about it. If you go to the Sikh temple in Pennsylvania, you have to worry about it. A church in Connecticut, or a school in Connecticut, you have to worry about it. A church in South Carolina. Fort Hood, Texas, a Christmas party in San Bernardino. The Pulse nightclub just 60 miles from us. An event in Nice, France. On and on and on. We have to worry about it everywhere we go. And so I really had to sit back and say, how can we best prepare our citizens for an active shooter scenario? And so in December, we put out the video that was called Enough is Enough. And it told our citizens, arm yourself. Make sure if you have a concealed carry, you come take our class. You know how to use it. And what happens when we put that video out, I did it on a Sunday night, just like I do every other weekly crime prevention message. About 10:30, my buddy calls me and says, hey, are you watching the video? I said, what video? He said, the video you just put up on Facebook. I said, why would I watch it? I'm in it. Why he said, it's going crazy. The numbers are through the roof. And I said, huh. So I went to bed. The next morning at 5 o'clock, Lindsay calls me and says, Sheriff, Fox News wants you on the news. And I said, what did I do? What's going on? Well, what I didn't know is during the night, that video had hit 6 million people. It was gone viral. Now it's been viewed by almost 30 million people. And the reason that video had such an impact and resonated with so many of our citizens is because it was a plan to save our lives. It was the only plan people were hearing. Now it's the plan that other sheriffs and chiefs have jumped on board with and are saying, we've got to understand that you are the first line of defense for protecting our families, our citizens, everywhere around. And really that video was right off the heels of San Bernardino. And the reason for it was this. The best law enforcement agencies in the country have response times in minutes. A violent criminal is going to take your life in a second. And when you look at San Bernardino, California, what happened was from the time 911 was called until the time law enforcement arrived was 4 minutes. That's an incredible response time. I got to be honest with you, that response time hits pretty good in all levels. 4 minutes. They arrived to find 14 people dead and many others badly wounded. So what it told me was, I have to give our citizens every tool possible to be able to defend themselves. The cavalry is coming. We are on the way. We want to be there. But until we get there, it's up to you to protect you and your family. And so I said, I'm going to step off the ledge. I'm going to tell citizens, arm yourself. Be prepared. Don't wait for the emergency to happen. So we started doing it. And we told everybody, come take our class. How many of you have had a chance to take our firearms class that we put on? It's called Self-Defense Through Tactical Shooting and Decision Making. I guarantee you loved it. I don't even have to ask. I get constant feedback on it about how awesome it is. You're learning from our tactical teachers, the people that teach our deputies how to survive out there. You shoot over 100 rounds through your gun. It is an all 8-hour day. Qualifies you to get your concealed carry permit. Again, if you guys want to do it as a group, I will set a day aside for you to do it. We'll do it during the week if you can. We'll put it on for everybody out there. The cost is $50. You get enough people together, I'll put it on for you because I want everybody to be prepared. And as I tell everyone, the class is as much about when not to shoot as it is when to shoot. But I want you to be prepared to save your life. So we put that out. Now we were doing that class one Saturday a month before that video went out. Today, we do it every Saturday of the month and we're booked through February. Because people have kicked in and said, I'm going to do it. So we were pushing that, and we were telling everybody, we were sticking with the semblance of run, hide, and fight. How many of you heard that? Run, hide, and fight. I will tell you that you're never going to hear that from me again. And I will tell you why. Because after the Pulse nightclub shooting, I looked at what happened over there. And the citizens in the Pulse nightclub did exactly what we had coached them to do. They followed a step-by-step guide because that's how we always gave it. We always said, run, hide, fight. And so they thought it was a step-by-step guide, and they did it. They ran, they hid, They never got an opportunity to fight because while they were hiding, they were waiting on one of two things: us to arrive or the shooter to find them and kill them. And I got to be honest with you, after that, I told my team, I can no longer, as the sheriff, with good conscience, coach our citizens to hide. I can't do it. I can't put my head on the pillow at night coaching you to hide. Amen. And it comes back to this. We are the greatest country on the planet. Amen. We have fought some of the ugliest and nastiest wars ever. And we won those wars not by telling our citizens to hide or our soldiers to hide. We taught them to attack the threat, to work together as a team, and to eliminate that which is trying to eliminate them. That's how we're going to beat this. And so after that, I got our team together. I said, we're coming up with a new plan. I can't teach run, hide, and fight anymore. And so we came up with a new thing. It's called the 4 A's of Survival. We have already rolled it out. It is an incredible program. You will never hear the 4 A's in exact order because there is no template to saving your life. In just a few seconds, you will have to make a decision about what's going to best save you. The 4 A's of survival are arm yourself, awareness, avoidance, attack. And I'll go over each and every one of them with you. From the arm yourself, how many of you already have a concealed carry permit? Who has that? Incredible. If I'd asked that 5 years ago, one person would have held their hand up. Today, our citizens are standing up and taking notice of how much they may have to save their life. But, as I tell everyone, all right, if you have a concealed carry, come take our class. Learn how to actually protect yourself and your family. Not everybody is comfortable with a gun. In fact, let's not kid each other. Not everybody should have a gun. My wife shouldn't have a gun. Right? Not that she's not a good shot, but one day she's going to use it on me. I know that. I'm trying to get her outlawed from having one. But I got to tell you, not everybody should have a gun. So if you're not going to have a gun, you need to have your plan. Your plan needs to be what you're going to use. Is it pepper spray? Is it a taser? Is it arming yourself with environmental weapons? Maybe it's a fire extinguisher. Maybe it's a chair. Maybe it's a knife. Whatever it is. If somebody says, well, a fire extinguisher against a gun? How about nothing against a gun? And when we work together as a team, when we realize that there is strength in numbers, and we all work together and come at different angles, we have the ability to go to the second A, and that is to attack. And that's what happened. You look at the Pulse nightclub, they had 380 patrons in there, one shooter. When the details finally come out, you're going to see there were moments, in fact several of them, where he was completely out of ammo, was reloading. They had a chance to attack, but they didn't, because they were depending on the running and the hiding to save their lives. And trust me, there's a big difference. In fact, when we look at them as arm, attack, we just talked about those two, then we get to avoidance. And by avoidance, I mean run. You run like your life depends on it, because it does. I don't tell people hide. If you ran and you can't run anymore, you barricade yourself. There is a distinct difference between hiding and barricading. They hid in the Pulse shooting. They hid in the bathroom. There was no way to barricade them. All they did was they locked themselves into an area where he could come in. So there's a difference between hiding and barricading. You run like your life depends on it. You have to know yourself. Sun Tzu in The Art of War says that if you know yourself and know your enemy, you won't be imperiled in 100 battles. But if you don't know yourself and don't know your enemy, you'll be killed in every single conflict. So we have to know ourselves. How many of you think you could outrun the threat? How many of you fall into that category? All right, I'll use me for example. Not once in my entire life have I ever won a foot race. Not once. I don't know why. I think it's my technique. I think I need to work on it a little bit. I'm not going to outrun you. But I know I'm always going to have this, and I know I'm going to fight, and I'm going to pick that chair up, and I'm going to wrap it around your skull, and I'm hoping there's 5 other people that are going to help me with that as we go through it. So you have to consider, if you're going to run, you're running to get away from there. You're getting out of there. If you do have to hide, then it's barricade. It's not hide. It is getting there, blocking it, and arming yourself within. So if they breach the barricade, now you've got a chance to survive and working together as a team. The other one is awareness. And awareness goes everywhere you go. Situational awareness is the first step really in saving your life. Looking around, knowing where the exits are. Knowing that we no longer live in that society where we can go to church and not have to worry about a shooter. Look what just happened in France, where they jumped up on stage and at the pulpit and slashed the priest's throat. Just had it last night at an event where they slashed a woman's throat in London. It's not just about guns anymore. It's about attacks. And so we have to be prepared for that at all levels. So what I'm telling our people is be aware. Know your surroundings. Know where the exits are. Know who's around you, who you can rely on to help. My wife and I were in church not long ago, and I'm sitting there and I'm processing in my mind, if an active shooter walked in right now, how am I going to protect my family, the other parishioners? How am I going to address the threat? Who in here can help me? I'm looking around, I see Jack Eric sitting on the other side. I know Jack works for us, he better have a gun. All right, if not, he's going to be in trouble. But I'm looking around and I'm processing all of this in my mind. And as I said, it's a sad commentary that that's what we have to process today, but it's real. So we have to be prepared. I really encourage you, go home today, go to our website at brevardsheriff.com. We have the 4 A's of survival up. It's a great piece of work that our media production team put together. It shows exactly what to do in each step, step by step. We just did, this past Saturday, we did a church security summit. And how many of you had a chance to attend that? Over 460 people attended that event, and our team put it on. And I think you guys were probably impressed with JJ and Pam and Jesse, all great instructors. Our job right now is to get to our citizens the mechanisms they can to protect themselves. And I want you to, as I said, I've been a cop for 37 years. I've never seen it like this. I've never seen a time like it in my life. It alarms me. I look at what's going on around our world, and I see it, and it's happening every day. Look, they're now using trucks. They're using knives. They're using everything else. In fact, there's probably not anyone in this room that doesn't know I am a strong advocate of the Second Amendment. I believe we live in Brevard County. If you don't have a gun and you're a good person, we ought to issue you one when you come into the county. I strongly believe that the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. I will always subscribe to that. But if you're not going to have your gun, then you've got to have a second plan. You've got to have a mechanism to save yourself. So let me shift gears and talk about what's happening around our country with the attacks on law enforcement officers. The first thing I'm going to say is, again, I've been a cop for 37 years. I've never seen a time where it was all of a sudden okay to physically and verbally target law enforcement officers. In fact, it's always just been the opposite. The law enforcement officers were our heroes. They were the people we went to when we were in trouble. They were the people we could trust. And so what we see going on around the rest of the country is alarming to all of us. But the good news, if there's any silver lining in that dark cloud, it is this. In Brevard County, we are seeing just the opposite. In Brevard County, we have citizens that love us, trust us, and have partnered with us to protect this place. And we love, trust, and partner with you guys. We know we can't do what we do without you. It has had the reverse effect. In fact, I had a deputy last week call me on the phone and say, "Sheriff, I got to tell you what just happened." I said, "What happened?" He said, "I stopped to get gas." He said, "I'm standing there getting gas, and a woman pulls up behind me in a car, and I'm thinking to myself, a lot of other cops will wonder why she's parking behind me." And she got out, and he says she folded her arms and said, "I'm standing guard watching your back while you pump gas." And he said, I thought, how cool. You know, when did that happen before? I had another one tell me they were going into the Sunnies on the Merritt Island, and a family stopped with them as they were going in and asked could they pray for them. I have deputies that tell me, in fact, the majority of them say they can barely pay for their meals anymore, that either the establishment or an anonymous citizen is paying for their meal. We have citizens that almost daily drop off donuts at our precincts. Like, you need more donuts. I just left our West
sabotage.
That's sabotage. We don't call them donuts, they're power rings now. We made them That's right. See, to say power rings, it sounds better, right? My favorite is a little girl. She's 10 years old. Her name is Samantha. And Samantha was baking cupcakes with her grandmother. Her mom was out shopping. Her and her grandmother were baking cupcakes. And Samantha said, "You know what, Grandma? I'm not going to eat the cupcakes. I'm going to find deputies and give them to them." And so when her mom got there, she told her mom what she wanted to do. She says, "All right, well, they had 12 cupcakes." And they rode around until they found 12 deputies that they could give them to. And actually, some of our deputies were calling other deputies over, "Hey, come over and get a cupcake." And so the first one they gave to was Deputy Salazar, and they gave him cupcakes. Well, she went home, and her mom put up on Facebook, and she wrote the article herself, 10-year-old girl. And she hashtagged, "Give a cop a cupcake." Hashtagged it. It's happening all over the nation. It's happening all over Louisiana, New York, California, Minnesota. All of them have give a cupcake going on to a cop. So I told everybody, what an amazing young lady. Now, Up until today, I had a complaint with her, and that was that I've been driving around for 5 days. And I can't find this woman. I was aggravated. So, believe it or not, I said that at a speaking engagement, that I was mad at her because I couldn't find her. Somebody in the audience knew her and her mom, and today, when I showed up at the West Precinct, she was there with a cupcake for me. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. But that's what we're facing. That's what we're embracing here in Brevard County. It's a community that stands shoulder to shoulder with us, that says, give us a mechanism to help you, give us a way to protect you, and we're going to do it. And I got to tell you, there is no greater feeling for our deputies than having that. It's amazing. We put up posts on Facebook, something bragging about one of our deputies, and people are just bouncing on it, bragging about all the stuff they're doing. And I tell everybody, like I said at the very beginning, I'm surrounded by 1,500 incredible people, and I'm smart enough to stay out of their way. They're doing great stuff out there. They really are. But our citizens are an extension of us. They are truly, truly helping us, and man, it's a great feeling. I tell other sheriffs and chiefs of police what we address here, the stories like I just told you, and they're sitting there shaking their head because they're not getting that same thing. So it's a testament, I think, to our partnership here in this community. So let me open the floor for questions. Anything you guys want to ask me, throw it at me. Bill?
We have 2,400 mosques in this country, 275 here in Florida. They're all paid for by our friends, the Wahhabis in Saudi Arabia, that provided 14 out of 19 killers that wiped out 3,000 people 15 years ago. Why can't we, if we control the Senate and House, why can't we actively, and I'm not speaking for anything because I have a lot of problems with what Trump's saying these days, but why can't we do something as far as for safety and security? You saw what Eisenhower and what Truman did at different points in our history, and as well as FDR. I don't understand why, given the people who would want to come in, for example, Obama wants to bring in, I'm getting to my question, Obama wants to bring in 10,000 Syrian Muslims, and every one of them is going to want Sharia law. And you pointed out especially the point that, and then they want to get rid of guns, and we've got sanctuary cities where killers and rapists and pedophiles are, that are also hitting our cops. So my question basically is this: where the hell can't we get a coalition of people, especially in the next 3 months, and demand that they start talking about the fact that, and also please remember that ISIS has increased from 7 in 2012 to, the point is, why are we not getting our Congress? We obviously know Bill Posey's with 1,000%. Why are we importing people when Obama wanting to bring in 10,000 Syrian Christian refugees? He wants to bring in 10,000 Syrian. Everyone's going to want Sharia law. And you saw what that guy Khan is there. He's a Muslim.
Let me try to answer what you guys.
I want to know why we can't do that.
Everybody else wants to ask questions too. Here's the answer to it. The people that we elect to send to Washington, the people that we elect to send to Tallahassee, work for us. And the tail can't wag the dog. We have to start realizing that when we're sending these people up. We've got to start asking them where they stand before they get there, and then hold accountable for what they stand for. And I would say that in any elected office, whether it's going to Tallahassee or going over to the Government Center in Viera, you need to find out where they stand before they take that rise and get on the bench. For me, what I see in our country right now is, and I said it before, we are the greatest country in the world. We're the greatest country in the world because of our freedoms. Our freedoms to do the things we want, the freedoms that are guaranteed by our Constitution. What we have lost, in my opinion, is we have lost the four corners of the Constitution, and we have lost the ability to stabilize where we are right now. And sometimes you got to go back to get to where you need to be. And that sounds odd to say, but I think right now we have to look for a vetting process for people that are wanting to come into our country. Our country is based on principles of people being able to come here and being able to enjoy the freedoms we have. But I think we have to at least consider, how do we make sure that the people that are coming here have the best interests of becoming Americans and not destroying Americans. That's what I believe.
How do you do that, Sheriff? You said we got to get
that's the things that we have to look at, a process. We have to create a process for it.
I'll come talking about the self-defense, and I saw someone post, I don't know if you recommend this, that instead of mace, that they're saying wasp spray is much better and squirts for you, because I don't want my wife to have a gun either, but it might buy her some wasp spray.
Yeah, actually, wasp spray, that's a myth. Wasp spray doesn't have the effect. What everybody got caught up in is that wasp spray, I can shoot from here and hit the door with it. But it doesn't. Unless it hits right in the eyes, and all it's going to do then is just sting their eyes. What is really good, I'm not a big fan of pepper spray. The reason I'm not a big fan of pepper spray is because if it gets on you, it's going to get on me, and now we're both trying to fight the effects of it. I remember my son, who's a state trooper on the turnpike, when he was going through academy, I happened to be at the academy the day they were spraying with pepper spray before they issued it to him. It was awesome. It was really cool to watch that. I wish I'd done it to him about 5 years before, to be honest with you. But I watched this 20-year-old kid fight through the effects of it, pick somebody up, slam them on the ground, and handcuff him and drag him to his car, all while being impacted by it. So if he can do it, and the criminal can do it, the bigger question becomes, can you do it? So I'm not a big fan of pepper spray. I love tasers. Tasers are huge. But if you want to go with something that is going to just put them on the ground and make them cry like a little 2-year-old, bear repellent. It is brutal. It is absolute. I watched a bail bondsman up in Daytona spray a guy with bear repellent, and the guy lay down on the ground, and I literally wanted to cry for him. It was now, the downside to it is it looks like you got a flamethrower because it comes in a big old thing like this. You can't really conceal it, but to have around the house and stuff, oh, it's bad. It's bad. Let me go to you. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just going to comment.
You sure? Okay. Well, yes, sir.
Difference between what your thoughts are between open carry and concealed carry.
Okay, I support open carry. I support concealed carry too. What I actually support is you to have the right to choose, is what I want. Here's what's happening with open carry. And the reason I support it, and I'll lay it out for you why I'm so strong on it. Florida had open carry until 1987. In fact, how many of you remember driving to school with your shotgun up in the back glass in the thing, right? That was open carry. Florida had open carry until 1987. What actually killed open carry in Florida was the passing of legislation of concealed carry, because there was a little niche in there in the law that outlawed the other. And so actually the governor had to reconvene the legislature just days after it came into effect. They had to do away with open carry to keep concealed carry. But what's happening right now is 45 other states have some form of open carry. They either have what's called permitted open carry, which is what I'm pushing, or they have constitutional open carry. Constitutional open carry means that I can walk down the street, as long as I'm not a convicted felon, I can walk down the street with my gun stuck in my belt, I can walk down the street with my gun in my hand, as long as I'm not pointing at anybody, I can walk down the street with an AR-15 strapped across my back, and I'm not violating any law. It's called constitutional carry. Permit carry, which is what the overwhelming majority of states have, and what I'm pushing for, means that you have to go through a background process. You have to go through the class, which we're trying to get more hours added to the class. It has to be maintained in a holster, and it has to be a handgun. In fact, it doesn't allow for a long gun to be used. So it's actually the same rules and requirements as a concealed carry permit. Those of you that already have a concealed carry won't have to apply for another permit. Your permit will cover it. It'll give you the option of doing so. Now, 45 other states have it. So what that tells me is we're going to get it. And what I want to make sure is that if we're going to get it, we get it in a form that protects our citizens, our cops, and our constitutional rights. The other side of it is, for me, it's a crime deterrent. And I'll tell you why I believe that so strongly. In 1987, the same time that we were going back and forth with concealed and open, there was a study done by the University of Massachusetts. It was actually paid for by the Department of Justice. They picked 2 professors that were anti-gun professors from the University of Massachusetts to do the study. Their study involved interviewing 1,800 violent inmates, and they asked each one of them a template of questions. And in the questions, what they were doing was, how do you pick your victims? Tell me your victimology. What was very interesting is that 84% of them said if they had selected a victim and then found out the victim had a gun, they picked another victim. They went to a different victim. 92% of them said they feared being shot by a citizen more than being shot by a cop, because the citizens don't have to follow all the guidelines. So when I looked at that, I went, wow. So I started looking. It's still today the most profound study. They interviewed 1,800 inmates, and actually in 10 different states, and Florida is one of those states. Now, you want to see that theory at work? I want you to go home or get on your smartphone, and I want you to Google search pawn shops that have been robbed. I promise you, you'll see on there, pawn shop robbed. Read the story. It wasn't robbed. They threw a brick through the window at 3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody goes running into a pawn shop pulling their gun out, because everybody on the other side of the glass has got a gun too. They're not going to do it. Google search fights at the gun show. Zero. Why? Everybody's got a gun. Who's going in there fighting? Nobody, right? So I look at it and I go, now, people say, well, it's going to be the Wild Wild West. Well, it's not in 45 other states. It's not Wild Wild West. I was in Tennessee last November. My daughter and I had gone up on vacation, and we saw this big, huge gun shop, and I was like, oh, let's go in there. And so we went in, and everybody in there's got a gun on their hip. And so I already knew the answer because I knew what states don't have open carry. And so I walked up to the guy and I said, hey, you guys have open carry here in Tennessee? And he goes, oh, no, man, they will put you in jail for that. I said, really? He goes, yeah, man. He says, you can't have an open beer around here. I said, I'm in open carry like in gun. He goes, what's that? I said, where you can walk down the street with your gun open. He goes, doesn't everybody have that? It's not Wild Wild West. Now, one thing that I wanted to be very careful of, and that when we structured the bill, we were very careful of, is to give property owners their rights. So if you own this Sonny's and you don't want people in here with open carry, you have the right to post that and to enforce it and for law enforcement to enforce it. The other thing I wanted was for law enforcement to be able to walk up to you and say, hey, I see your open carry, can I see your permit? Sure. And if you don't show it, then it gives us some recourse. So, like I said, we tried to create legislation that was going to protect our citizens, give them their rights, protect our cops, making sure that none of them are in harm's way, and protect our constitutional rights. And so
Right.
that's
Good.
what we did.
Amen.
Yeah, let me go right back here. Yeah, questions as well.
Have you considered running for president this year?
Watch this. Lindsay, can I run for president? If you guys have never met Lindsay or Val, Lindsay is the community relations coordinator. She and Val work at all of our community stuff. Lindsay is by all means the sheriff's handler. She's usually with me everywhere I go. They don't let me out of the office without a guard is what I'm told. And I don't think the guard's to protect me. I think it's to protect everybody else. But Lindsay's usually with me. She had a little bit of a meeting she had to handle, so Val was sitting in for her from it. But it's funny, when I put out the video in December of last year about Enough is Enough, I got about 1,000 emails. And a lot of them had in there, you should run for governor, you should run for president. And I chuckled, I'm a cop. I've been a cop my whole life. I love being a cop. That's all I ever want to do. But I had to chuckle because when I first started getting them, I'm laughing. I'm like, yeah, run for president. I look now, I go, could be that much worse. How bad could it be? My favorite email, though, was I got an email that about 20 of them didn't like me very much. Out of 1,000, that's not too bad. About 20 of them didn't like me very much. And so we had a pile. We went, okay, this one definitely doesn't like you, and these do. And one of them, I was hung up on. I wasn't sure how to read it. All it said was, you need to eat more salads. That's all it said. So, I called the team in. I'm like, where does this go? Which pile? And Doug Waller, our chief deputy, goes, they're saying you're fat. And I said, now, you're negative, so that's probably what you look. I looked and thought, they care about me. They want me to be healthy. Yeah, we went ahead and put that one in the doesn't matter pile. So, what else? What else can I answer for you guys? Yes,
With that being said, you were talking about it. What's wrong with the screening process? Wasn't the pulse shooter supposedly working for, a government agency?
I don't know. I hadn't heard that. I hadn't heard that he was working for a government
They've been
agency.
screened?
He had gotten hired by the Department of Corrections.
Oh, had he?
And
For
he,
DOC?
and he got fired before he completed the academy.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, that's the first I'd actually heard of that.
But he was permitted to carry, though, wasn't he?
No, we don't permit to carry. We only.
Yeah, not through DOC. He had a concealed carry permit. Here's the problem.
So what's wrong with the screening process?
And I kind of talked about it briefly a second ago. Here's the problem with the screening process. I'm always asked, do we need gun control? We have gun control. We have measures that good people that want to get a gun go through. What we don't have is criminal control. That's what we don't have. We don't have that. What we don't have is a mental health plan for our country that is working. And listen, I'm going to tell you straight up. We're pretty fortunate here in Brevard County with Circles of Care and some of the other providers. But when you look at it from a universal picture, our mental health plan is broken. We need to throw the baby in the bath, both out the window and into the yard, because it is severely, severely broken. And if I was going to start anywhere in fixing some of the problems, I'd start with that mental health issue, because that's the problem. When I look at the process good people go through, it's there. In fact, I'll even use myself. A lot of people don't realize this. I don't have a concealed carry permit. I don't have to. I'm a law enforcement officer, so I carry my gun anywhere. Do you know that I can't go buy a gun without waiting 3 days to get it? I'm a cop, and I still have to wait 3 days. My wife has a concealed carry permit. She can go buy a gun right now, walk out the store with it. But I can't because of some of the guidelines they put in place for things. So there are certain things that people have to go through to get them. But what's really troubling is our mental health issues. That's one of the things that I think. Bill, if you can put it into 2 seconds or 2 sentences, I'll answer a question for you.
All the killings, whether it's at Fort Hood or the Colorado Theater or Newtown, all of those happen in no-gun zone areas. And that's exactly right what you just said. However, the question is, the liberals, and I'm coming to the question right now, the liberals, whether it's these videos, these violent videos, or what they produce in Hollywood, they are, unless you're, for example, a psychiatrist here in Florida, and know somebody who's going to do something violent, everybody's afraid of being sued if they report somebody who's suddenly had a traumatized thing, like they're going through a divorce and they're threatening something.
Well, I can't agree with you on that, Bill, and I'll tell you why. Because we get tons of people, and we've started pushing out very heavy. If you see something, say something.
Right.
We get tons of people that are telling us stuff. And if you go back and you look at almost every one of these active shooter scenarios, in fact, go back and look at any of the terrorist acts as a whole, to include 9/11. People knew about it. People, in some capacity, thought something was wrong. And I tell everybody, God gave us all the gift of fear. He didn't give it to us to waste. He gave it to us to listen to, and we need to start listening to it. When you have that little piece that doesn't fit right and makes that hair stand up on the back of your neck, call us. The worst that happens is if you're wrong, we come out, we get to meet you. We get to meet the people that we thought something was going to be wrong with, and we get to assure our community that nothing's wrong, that everything's okay. But take 9/11, for example. When they went back and they started interviewing neighbors and people at the schools and everywhere else, every one of them said, yeah, we thought something was wrong. Something just didn't make sense. The biggest one, which the FBI calls a clue, is when they only wanted to learn how to take off. They didn't want to learn how to land. All right? That would have stuck out in my mind. I would have went, there's something wrong with that. But those are little things that if everybody just put it together, we can avoid some of these. You look at it in San Bernardino, you look at it at the Pulse nightclub, all of them. There were those opportunities to stall it, and we did. Sure.
Your choice between carrying a 22 all the way up to a 45, and what will keep us out of trouble with the sheriff's department as far as sticking it in our pocket?
Okay, my choice is I'm a 40 cal fan. Now, one of the things you have to consider is accessibility to ammunition. 9mm is right now some of the most affordable. 22, you can buy it by the buckets. Problem is 22 doesn't give a lot of knockdown power. However, if all I've got is my 22, I'm going to be spraying bullets, baby. We're going to be rolling with them. But I'm a big 40 fan. Now, it really comes down to what you're comfortable with, what you like best. And if you haven't already purchased a gun, go to one of our local gun distributors. Go to B&H, go to Frog Bones, go to Black Side, on and on and on. There's some great ones out there. Let them fit you, let you shoot it, let you feel comfortable with it, because the last thing you want is a gun that you're not comfortable with. You won't carry it, you won't take it. Make sure it's small enough that you're going to carry it, but yet big enough it's going to have the knockdown capacity to do the job from it. So the best thing for us, and I'll use a traffic stop for example, you're driving along and you see that you're going to be stopped by law enforcement. There's different agencies out there handle things differently. My guys have been coached on, if you have a concealed carry, we love for you to tell us you have a concealed carry. The law doesn't mandate you do. There's no due diligence to tell me you have a concealed carry. But what we really love is when we walk up and you hand us your driver's license and your concealed carry. What a lot of people don't realize is that puts us at ease a little bit, because we know you're a good person. You know, unless you've done something since you got it, you're probably a good person that qualified to get a concealed carry. So when we see it, our guys are going to tell you, thank you very much for letting me know. Just keep your hands where I can see them. I'm going to handle my business. I'm going to go run your license, whatever else. Just please, just keep your hands where I can see them for me. They're going to talk to you and everything else. Other agencies, and I don't think any here, but I know across the state, other agencies will actually ask you to let them hold your gun. Before they finish their business, they will disassemble your gun or empty your gun and put it in the trunk. We don't do that. All right? We don't take guns from good citizens. That's not what I believe in. So we're going to just ask you to maintain it. My son, who's a highway patrolman, he called me and he goes, Dad, they're telling me to do this, to take the gun and everything. I said, boy, don't you take a man's gun. What's wrong with you? I said, first of all, why do you want to put the gun in his hand anyway? To take it, you got to have him hand it to you. I said, just know this. First of all, they're probably a good citizen. Secondly, Anybody that's got a concealed carry, if they gave you one gun, has got two more in close proximity. But that's what we do. Tell us you have it. If you are in a situation and you've had to address a threat, the number one word we want everybody to understand is compliance. When we get there, if we say drop it, put it down. Don't argue with it. Don't say, hey, I'm a good guy. Anything. Put it on the ground. Let us do our business and go through it. I get asked a lot, if we have more guns on the streets, and obviously we're going to have more guns on the streets. Concealed carry permits are up, whether open carry, pass or not, you're seeing that number increase. Everybody says, well, how are you changing your training? We're not. Because we've been training all along to address people that have guns. If I come to your house, whether you have a concealed carry or not, you probably have a gun at your house. So I may have to address that threat there. I may have to recognize good from bad in dealing with it. So it's always been part of our training. We always are trying to look for those compliance modules, the person that seems to be aggressive versus the person that seems to be defensive and those things. We had a case a few years back in Satellite Beach where officers got called to a shooting. They went over, they hear commotion out back, they go in through the front. There's two ladies that have been executed in the living room. As they go back out on the back patio, guys holding another guy at gunpoint, and he's yelling at him, stay away from me, stay away. Well, the officer, of course, addresses the guy with the gun and says, put it on the ground. The guy immediately puts it on the ground. The other guy jumps for the gun. The officer ends up having to shoot the other guy that was going for the gun. Well, what had happened is the good guy had wrestled the bad guy down and taken the gun from him. So the first person the officer saw with the gun was the good guy that was holding it. That guy complied. That guy immediately did what the officer told him, put the gun down. The bad guy tried to get the gun, the officer had to kill him. So we train for that. We are always mindset of that.
But for citizens on the street, what will get us in trouble as we're walking down the street with the gun?
Right now, as the law stands, what we call imprinting, you have it concealed, but I can still see the outline of it. Not having it covered up because of the way the law, and that's another reason for the open carry fix, is to help do away with some of that. Other than that, reckless display, which most concealed carry permit holders don't do. They've gone through the class. They know what they're supposed to do. But other than that, there's not a whole lot. Imprinting, yeah, imprinting will get you in trouble. Now, my guys, because they all know where I stand, my guys know there's accidental and there's intentional. And I'll give you a perfect example of my own self. Just up the road here, off of Fisk Boulevard. It was back in December. My wife keeps her horse up off of Fisk Boulevard up there. I went down to help her hook up the trailer, but I wasn't going with her. I was in my vehicle and she was in her. I had my gun on. I wasn't in uniform. Had my gun on, had a jacket on. While I'm working on the trailer trying to fix the lights, took my jacket off. Well, I'm out there at the stables and everything. She gets ready to leave. She drives off. I get back in my truck. My jacket's laying in the back seat. I stop at the 7-Eleven to get gas. I'm standing out there big and bold with blue jeans and cowboy boots on. I got the gun right there on the head. And I'm like, oh man. And so I get my jacket, put it on. But if somebody wanted to, they could have charged me with open carry because of that accident. It wasn't intentional, it was an accident. But that's the things we have to be careful of. So,
Can I ask one question?
Go ahead, Bill, real quick.
Pam Bondi is the chief.
Bill, I'm not going to answer anything about
That's a question about
Bill,
getting
no,
her.
I'm not going to answer anything
The
about
law.
Short question?
Yeah.
All right, these companies, businesses around here that ban guns on premises, you see the little sticker. I feel unsafe going into places like that because I feel like the people are sitting ducks. I know they have a right to do it, but do you at least get with them and say, hey, maybe this isn't the right policy? Because the shooter's not going to walk up to that window and say, oh, there's a sticker, I'm going to go home now. So.
Yeah, most of those are driven at a corporate level. Most of the little mom and pop businesses don't have them. But, the ones that call us and say, hey, I'm thinking about, not allowing guns in my business, we talk to them about, you're now creating a gun-free zone. You're creating that. Most of them know that concealed carry has become so populous throughout the country that good law-abiding citizens are coming in and doing it. I look at those stickers and I think to myself, you're absolutely crazy. You're setting yourself up to be robbed and everything else from it. You look at the national football games and basketball games. They don't allow guns in. I went to the Amway Center not long ago for an NBA game, and I'm a cop. I went in there, had my gun on, had it concealed and everything, and got time to go through the metal detector. I pulled the security guard over and said, look, I'm a law enforcement officer. Here's my credentials. And he goes, Sheriff, I'm sorry, I cannot let you in. It's the NBA rules. It's not the Amway Center, it's the NBA rules. We can't let you in. And I'm like, that is outrageous. When you talk about creating a sitting duck.
That might be a political thing, but I'd rather be safe than
Oh, me too.
correct.
Yeah.
So.
I'm working on something right now. I don't know what kind of success I'm going to have with it. I'm working on something right now to try and get legislation that will allow us to train certain people within inside a school, the principal, maybe the coach or somebody of that regard, so that we at least have a first stop mechanism on campus with it. Don't know what kind of success, because we're going to have to actually change the law, because the law says only a law enforcement officer can be on campus with a gun. But we're working on that. So let me close right where I started, and that is to say not only thank you for having me today, but thank you for allowing me to serve in this job. I love it to death, and I hope you let me keep doing it. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody, for being attentive and not displaying your weapons here with the man here. We want to have Sheriff Ivey back again sometime soon, so we'll declare it with Lindsay, since she's the boss lady, she says. Remember, we talk about it every week. Remember Sonny's, they do so much for us. Leave a healthy donation, because they do so much for us. Next week is Kevin Wynn from Calvary Chapel. He'll be here, so look forward to another crowd as good as this one. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.